Many educators think that you need to be doing the skill for more than 10 years before you can step into leadership roles, before you can be considered an expert in that field. Now, I want to argue today that that is wrong, and I'm going to show you and talk about the 3-step framework that many of us are using to really fast track our progress and learn any skill in a matter of months rather than years. Because for us educators, AI is unleashing untapped potential. Rather than spending 10 years learning how to be an expert copywriter, or learning how to market or sales, or be an influential speaker, we can actually use AI to extract the knowledge of somebody else's journey in a matter of months rather than years. So if you're new here, my name's Vaughn Littlejohns. I'm an educational leader and coach, and I really want to just help people make more impact in education through leveraging their technology and making more impact as they go. So today I really want to talk about that 3-step framework that I'm using to consolidate the knowledge of everyone else who's an expert in the things that I want to learn, and then use that as a fast track rather than going out and spending years trying to build connection with that person to become a mentee from that person or join their course or their program. I can just fast track that whole process to get started by leveraging AI and creating my own AI agent and bot to really encompass all of their knowledge. So what do? The first step we need to do is we need to get very specific with our vision. There's the old saying, begin with the end in mind. Why are you wanting to learn this skill? Because there's the argument that these days that AI is using to shortcut and people are using it to cheat and things like that. However, it's nearly further from the truth. If you are a smart person who wants to level up your own skills, it's about self-development, and it's about building the vision of how you want to use your own skill set, your own mind, and how do you want to leverage that to then make the impact in the space that you're working. So for me at the moment, it's technology leadership. I'm a deputy principal and going into a director of technology role. So I want to learn this AI so I can then go and teach others how to do it. And I'm doing that in many other ways, but getting very specific, begin with the end in mind. Be very specific on what you want. So first, we need to go out and we need to source an inspiration of what is the skill we want to learn, who's doing it at a level that we want to be able to do it. So a case in point, I want to learn how to do marketing and sales. I'm not going to go and spend 10 years testing out all these different ways of doing marketing and sales. I'm just going to go to Alex Hormozi, who is a marketing genius, and look at what he's done rather than going through all of the trials that he's encountered, going bankrupt multiple times, literally getting all the challenges. I can look at his story and I can look at his resources and I can use that to leverage what we're trying to learn. So first thing we need to do is become super clear on why are we doing the thing that we're doing, because intent matters. If we're designing to shortcut our progress, or just to basically have AI write for us or create for us, well, what is the point of that? Is it so you can then spend more time working and serving somebody or some sort of situation? Or is it a means to an end? You're trying to just make a quick buck, try to make a quick sort of rise in the ranks. What is the intent? Because I was recently at an AI and education conference and we discussed about build tomorrow's AI today. And the point from this keynote was really about your intent matters. So going in with a clear vision, begin with the end in mind. What do you want to achieve? And then why? Very specific. Once we've got that necessary specific detail, we can then dive into the next step, which is getting clear with our mindset. And for many of us, having a growth operation, a mindset shift between the reason we can and can't do things comes down to threshold. What do I mean by threshold? We work on pain and pleasure. So if we see learning something is too hard, then we associate too much pain and then we go, don't do that task. So we first need to look at what is the pain and the pleasure threshold and seek everything as an opportunity to learn and grow. Now, I was recently talking and mentoring a student who's really going through a hard time at the moment. And I just used the analogy that life is happening for us and not to us. Having that clear mindset of this opportunity or this challenge that we're dealing with is presented for us so we can grow from it, because that really is going to set up our way we can use this AI to help. If we're going in there and designing a building from the scratch, we can hit all these ethical issues, we can hit all these bottlenecks and constraints on skill. However, our ability to be resistant to change and our ability to be resistant to just giving up, that is where it comes into. And there's this idea of what we call the learning journey. So it goes, basically you start a new thing, you've got an uninformed optimism, you're super keen, you're like, yeah, awesome, I'm going to learn this new skill. And we get to the first sort of arc and you go, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought, but I'll keep going. And then eventually we get into what we call the valley of despair. This is where most people give up. This is where you'll see your students go, I can't do this, I'm out. And then they'll jump and they'll go to the next thing, their new opportunity, the thing that looks shiny and bright. And that's the old analogy, shiny object, chasing the shiny object, or the woman in the red dress. It's the same thing, chasing the new opportunities. But if we stick through that hump of this is too hard, I can't do this, we can actually come up into informed optimism where we're going, yeah, this is actually a little bit easier. We keep going, and we keep iterating, because there's a cycle when we come to design and building that it's basically a design process. We do your research, you ideate, you do some testing, you evaluate, then you go again, do a bit of research, ideate, test, and so forth. And you just keep going and going until you got the product that you want. So what does this mean when we're trying to shave off the 10 years it would take to learn a specific skill? So we can do this in our third step, and that's to gamify everything. Once we've figured out, okay, this is what the skill I want to learn, these are the people I'm wanting to learn it from, we can then look at gamifying. And how do we do that? Well, we're actually going to create things like knowledge banks and project files. This is going to get a little bit more technical now. So once we've figured out who we want, we've got the mindset, yes, we can do this, we just need to put the dedication and effort in, we can then go to gamifying the entire process. So the first aspect of that is we're basically going to create our knowledge bank. We're going to set up a profile. We're going to set up our avatar. It's like when you start a video game for the first time, you get to name your character, you might get to customize their features, but you're setting up your avatar, your character. And how are we going to do that? Well, it's called a knowledge bank. So we're going to collect as many resources as we can from that person who was modeling's experience. And for example, if I wanted to become really fantastic at copywriting and be able to do email marketing, if I was looking in the business space, I'd go to Alex Mosier and I'd go to all his free resources where he's got all these PDFs on how to create an offer, how to do value add, and all these different things. If I wanted to do this in leadership, I could go to, say, Stephen Covey and have a look at all of his frameworks, and I could use it as a foundational, creating the avatar and make my own personal assistant or mentor in that space. Doesn't really matter who you're doing. Even Tony Robbins right now, one of the biggest, what you call peak performance coaches, is actually creating their own AI mentor. And they're doing that because they can see the impact. People have access 24/7. And it's really interesting because a recent Harvard study showed that the way people were using AI between 2024 and 2025 is therapy and communications has gone to the top use case now, whereas it used to be like task creation and generation. And that's actually dropped to, I think, number 5 or 6. So people are using it for more interpersonal kind of things, even though it's not a human, because they have 24/7 access, and they can just impact and be very specific, and they can word vomit on this specific thing that they're dealing with, and it can give you actionable steps. So that leads us into the next part of gamifying the process. Once we've got this knowledge bank, we need to start setting up manageable milestones. And the reason why gaming can be so addictive is because it has this reinforcement loop. We do this thing, we see a result, and we get reinforced. We unlock a certain skill, we unlock a certain benefit or accolade, and it's the same kind of thing. If you're learning how to do, running or fitness, you can then basically start that skill by little bits. You don't just go out and run a marathon for the first time ever. You actually go, okay, I'm going to run for 1 minute today, and then I'm going to walk, and then I'm going to run for a minute, walk, and so on. You are setting small mental wins. So it's the same kind of thing when it comes to AI and our ability to sort of create for the future. So what does it mean? We can set up checkpoints, actionable steps, and once we actually have got this knowledge bank, we've put it into our project files, and you can do this in all sorts of platforms. You can create your own app. You can do it in, say, Claude. You can do it in ChatGPT and make your own custom GPT. You can do it in all these different platforms, but that's not the point. It's start with the vision, understand your mindset, and this is going to be hard, but you can do it. It's a lot easier than doing 10 years of learning this skill. You can just learn it in a few months, and the intent matters, and then we can gamify that process. We can set up marginal goals, short and medium term, and then we can set actionable points. So a simple way you can do that is word vomit on a camera, and then you can get the transcript. You can move it across to the AI that you've just sort of built, the knowledge bank that you've built, and you can say prioritize this, and then give you your steps for success. Because once you've got it broken down into actionable things, then we can actually make the impact or learn the skill a lot quicker. And it takes out a lot of the guessing work, because as human learners, we are naturally wanting to see results. We naturally want to see growth. But for many of us, certainty is one of our human needs, meaning we need to understand that this result is going to be certain. And the problem with that is it's near on impossible to predict. However, when we've got expert mentoring, expert coaching, that actually improves our opportunity and chances. The only thing that's stopping us is the actions that we take. So once we've started gamifying that process, we get that feedback loop going. I've done this thing in this time, I've achieved it. Yes, win, awesome. You get that sort of dopamine hit, and then you can go again to the next step, compounding, building it up. So it's taking things one step at a time, really, to build up and up and up. That is basically the framework of how do we take somebody else's expertise from 10 years of their journey and compress it down into a few months to learn the same kind of skill. So, for example, if I was to do the copywriting one from, say, Alex Hormozi and the marketing, I could get his knowledge bank from the internet, a website. I understand my mindset. I understand that this is going to be a challenge, but once I get it, it's going to work. And then I can put it in and gamify, and I can step out the process in the AI. So I could generate a email marketing campaign, or I could model what is working currently in that space, and then I could tweak it to my own authentic voice and style. So that is as simple as it can be when we're looking at, but obviously that brings into question things along the ethical line of like, how do we use, but the intent matters. That's what I said. It's not about cheating. It's about understanding somebody else's knowledge and the skills that they've learned, and then trying to model and mimic to your context. Once you can actually do that, you can do that in an authentic and actual ethical way, because you can then distribute that knowledge and share and actually impact others the way that you want. So if this has been helpful for you, I hope it has. Don't forget to share, like, and follow, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget, effort equals results. Have a great day.